Good evening.
Hi, Chris.
My name is Chris McComas, lifetime resident of Howard County. Grew up in Ellicott City, but moved out here 20-some years ago to raise our 4 children. I don't know how many people here are familiar with what has happened to our family in the last few years. I see somebody just raised a wristband for me. Thank you. I know that you do, and I see that you have your wristband. I know that it's getting late and long, but for those of you that may not know our story, I would like to go through it just a little bit, because I have some serious concerns about what's going on in our community right now that I think need to be mediated. I don't know how much power you have to do that, but you need to hear us, because we've got to have answers, because I believe that children are at risk. Okay? Like I said, I was born and raised in Ellicott City. I'm a lifelong resident of Howard County, and I've always been very, very proud to be a K through 12 educated person. Howard County is second to none, I thought, for the education system and for ethics. My husband and I have 4 daughters. Right now they are ages 15 to 24. And we've always felt blessed to live here and very secure to make our home here. The position that we found ourselves in since summer of 2011, though, has been nothing short of a nightmare. And somehow, amidst the beauty and the plenty of this land that we all live in here and the espoused civility, choose civility, which is Howard County, we were not able to protect our child, who was a sweet, loving daughter named Grace. She died on Easter Sunday of 2012, attempting to flee the pain inflicted upon her by multiple people and public entities, beginning with a young man that lived next door, who was the son of dear friends, and the ability of anybody within the county system to effectively help her by stopping him, holding him accountable for his actions, or even making him apologize. And that continues to this day. The horror of our story is we were aware of what was going on. We were aware of her struggle. She was not a sullen and uncommunicative teen. She was joyful from birth. And that's what made this so shocking, I think, to our community at large. With 4 kids, you get to know a lot of people. You know, if you're active in the community, you get to know a lot of people, and this was not a child that was at risk. This was not a child that you would ever have expected to lose in such a way. We did all the things that the bullying experts at the time said to do. We got her support, we screenshot, we reached out to the police and to the schools and to the courts asking for help, which did not come in any meaningful way. And the problem is the school from the get-go, there are multiple public entities that I have a problem with, but the school in particular knew from the get-go about a possible drug-assisted sexual assault that was not investigated properly. A young she's 14 years old. She was not yet allowed to date. She went to homecoming that year, that's it. And a 20-something muscle-bound police officer comes and shrugs his shoulders without hearing anything and says it's not illegal for people to have sex. So I have questions about the police department and what kind of training they get. I also have questions about the school system, because she came to us right away within, the next day was Father's Day. She didn't want to ruin it, she said. So the next day she told us everything that happened. And I immediately got in touch with the school system. Well, within a few days, someone had confided in a teacher who had to break confidence, went to the counselor. Counselor was supposed to call both families. Ours played phone tag. It was the last 2 days of school. They went on vacation, and I never heard from them again. However, because I knew what was going on, I asked to be changed to a female counselor. I had to go through Principal Schindler to do that, and made them aware of everything that was happening at the time, because I knew we were going to have, it was going to be difficult. I can't say half the things that I want to say to you publicly here because of the things that were said to my daughter aren't things that you can say in public. But for instance, tweets that are like, I hate you. Next time my name rolls off your tongue, I hope you choke on it and die. You might as well. You're just a lousy piece of... Snitches, I will kill you. Snitches should have their fingers cut off one by one while they watch their families burn. When something happened and she became very upset and I called his mother and said, this has got to stop, he's got to leave her alone. By that time, I made a fake account and I went out. I didn't even know what Twitter was, but for months, the court said they could make it stop and they did not. And they have since lied about that. And I am trying to get her court record to prove that. But I've been waiting years at this point. But my point is that something's broken and it needs attention. And when I stood up at that mold meeting, I started paying attention to what was going on with the mold meeting and the lack of transparency and the lack of honesty. And I'm sure you saw the principal from the school that your daughter works at and that your child goes to school at and that my child goes to school at, running away from a reporter who had a microphone because the day before he had blatantly sent something home that said there is no mold in the school. And then the next day, Howard County Schools says, yes, there's mold there. I don't know whose job it is to do all the different things but I feel like there is an ethical problem. I know that some of what they do is illegal, and it needs to be looked at, because my feeling is the reason, I didn't even say, the wristbands are when Grace died. There's now a law in the state of Maryland called Grace's Law that will protect children from the type of cyberbullying that we were not able to protect her from. Thank you. Alan Kittleman had a huge part of getting that law made when he was Senator Kittleman, and I will forever be grateful for that. And you're a good man, and I know that you mean well. But this can't go on any longer. It needs to be publicly discussed. It needs to be remedied. I'm not sure how, but I need you to hear us, because I don't think that is coming through, or maybe, I don't know. But I will say just today, if you're on Facebook, I have a memorial page for our daughter, which is how we did a lot of the advocacy that got the law made. I just shared for the first time yesterday, I didn't want to go any legal route. So many things went wrong. I didn't know where to focus. And I wanted to make the most good out of what had happened. And so we started walking towards the law. I wasn't trying to punish anybody. I assumed they were good people doing the best that they could do, and they messed up. However, the more this goes on, the longer this goes on, and when I have finally, this is actually one of Grace's doctor gave me the name of a lawyer. I was too confused and too broken that year to think about anything, but I thought, after the law was made, I came around and thought some more. And we requested her files through a lawyer. And they sent immunization files, kindergarten records.
You're talking about the school system?
Yes, the school system.
I wasn't sure what the court.
The school system.
Okay, yeah.
Sent everything except anything that had to do with the counseling center or the student services department. So, they wouldn't do anything for her. If you can imagine, those tweets went out to hundreds of people at a time, mostly in her peer group. And I presented in October of 2011 to the school, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. It didn't happen in school. Well, now I come to realize, well, actually, the bullying form does say electronic communication counts. So they didn't send those records. And again, I am still recovering. I will never recover. But I did circle back around again last year and had another law firm ask for her files and say, last time you left these things out, we don't need this because you sent this. Where is this? And by law, they had a certain number of weeks to get back to them, by law. And they just ignored it. And that shouldn't be allowed. You already know that when Grace died, Principal Schindler wouldn't allow a memorial in the yearbook. When the yearbook came out months later, she wasn't even in it. When her classmates wanted to wear the little blue ribbons, he said no. The Board of Ed said no. And this community rose up in great numbers, and a lot of kids that graduated from Glenelg years ago came up and said, this is wrong. It was in the Baltimore Sun. They said, this needs to be fixed. This child went to school with them since she was 3. From 3 to 10th grade. We're a family out here. We have been treated poorly by that school and that school system since this began. And I really think that it's just a travesty and something needs to happen.
Okay. Well, Chris, before you go, well,
I actually have something else to say.
okay, I was going to say.
One more quick thing. I've been working with other people. I don't know whose job it is to let people know that a law exists.
Okay.
Nobody seems to know. There are still police officers that, you know, through the memorial page, I have people come and say, look, this is happening to my child. And I say, I always vet it, and I say, show me what you've got.
Okay.
And I see things that are death wishing, that are horribly damaging.
Okay.
And those people went to a police officer in the state of Maryland, and the guy says, it's free speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking you to put some effort behind promoting this law, because I also know that Stand Up Ho-Co under Ken Ullman, which was, you know, quite frankly, he was frustrated with the school system as well. So this Stand Up Ho-Co was a program, an anti-bullying program throughout the county. You know, it was a community program. And it also had an instant, you know, I think it's this for safety issues. There should be an instant way that kids or anybody in this community can get in contact with you or the police or whomever and say, I'm hearing that somebody might have a gun today, or I'm hearing this, that, or the other. And I know that program is now defunct. They never talked about Grace's Law, and I'm asking you to find some funding.
No, I appreciate it. I was going to tell you about it. I checked in that today as well on the Stand Up Ho-Co, and I've been told that the Voices for Change and the local children's board are working on getting that more reinvigorated again. So, but I'll work with them to make sure that happens. Also, the police department. But before you go, you know, probably one of the most impactful moments of my life was when Chris and Gloria sat next to me on the Senate floor, and that bill was passed. You talk about somebody who has tremendous perseverance and tremendous courage, is Chris McComas. And I can't imagine, even for one instant, what your family goes through every day. And I also want to tell everybody she's being very kind to me tonight. No, I'll tell you why. She and I talked last year. And I will tell you, I failed her because I haven't been able, or I haven't gone forward and done all that I could possibly do to help her. And so she was so kind to me. She went outside and talked to me tonight before this started. And we discussed it. And I told her, I'm sorry I failed you. I won't do that. I'll make it happen. I'll make sure that you have the opportunity, again, something that I don't have control over, but at least I have the ability to get you to meet the people that you need to meet and to talk to the people you need to talk, whether it be the school system, the state's attorney's office,
I really want it to be a public discussion because I don't want them hiding. The times that I've been lied to by the state's attorney was a private discussion that Ken Ullman made happen because he knew what had happened. And I don't.
Okay, well, we'll work.
Okay, I will say, the point that I should have, my main point I wanted to make is, I have a concern that unless we fix these things, I have not heard anything from anybody telling me that children, something has changed so that this can't happen again to another child or another family. And that's what I'm here to talk about.
And I appreciate that, and that's what Grace's Law is all about, too.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for your kindness.